Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's me again, Chelsea, and today, for the final time, it's another countdown to Christmas video, and of course I have to finish on a book haul. So this will be my final haul of 2024, which is crazy. And I have severely been trying to cut down on the amount of books I'm bringing into the house because my shelves are full and I'm not reading as fast as I want to. So we're going to try and look at that next year. I have seen some amazing content this year from loads of creators trying to read their shelves and reading their physical TBRs, which is fantastic. And I think I should really take note of that and try and read my physical TBR before adding more books in. But there is still no book buying ban for me coming in 2025. I'm just not doing that to myself. I've got my books separated into 3 piles. I've got the books that I've bought myself. I have my final 2 books from book boxes before I cancelled, so I no longer have any subscription boxes, and I do have a lovely stack of books that I've been sent for review copies, which as always I'm very, very grateful for. So without further ado, I'm going to start with the subscription box books because there's only 2 of them. So the first one is Air by Sabaa Tahir. I wanted to get this because I read Ember in the Ashes earlier this year and I really enjoyed it, so I thought, well, I might as well keep Fairy Loot for this. So this was a Fairy Loot YA back in October. I really love what they've done customization wise with this. I just haven't read it, shock horror, and I really want to. I don't know much about most of these books, if I'm completely honest, so I will not be giving full descriptions, but I just wanted to show you the books that I got and why I got them. So yeah, this is one of the final Fairy Loots I got. If not the final Fairy Loot, I don't know when I got the other one. Let me just quickly check. September. So yes, this was my final Fairy Loot. And the one I got before that in September was The Dagger and the Flame by Catherine Doyle. No idea. No idea. Probably Enemies to Lovers. Yeah, a fiery Enemies to Lovers romantasy. So maybe we'll give it, well, we will give it a try. It's sat on my shelf. So we're going to give it a try and we're going to see how we feel about it. It's very pretty. I love what they've done with it customization wise. I just don't know if this one's going to be for me. I'm not sure if 2025 is going to be the year I decide that romantasy is for me. I've got some things I want to try, but I'm not 100% sure. And from there, we're going to move swiftly onto the books that I've actually bought myself. These are in no particular order. But I will talk you through all of the books I got from 66 Books when I went way back when in September at the end. So these ones I bought first normally, and then the rest of them from 66 Books. So first up we've got The Silver Blood Promise by James Logan. I was lucky enough to receive an ARC and I listened to it audibly. Not the ARC, I got an ebook ARC, but I listened to it audibly once it came out. I really enjoyed this one. I really enjoy our main character Lucan. He's very morally grey. I like books at the minute where all our characters aren't necessarily overly good or overly bad, they're just people, and that's what I really liked about this book. So I can tell you a little bit about this because I've actually read it. Lucan is an academy dropout and a disgraced heir due to a duel that went very badly wrong, causing the dropout, and when he learns that his estranged father has been murdered, he sets off on a quest to try and figure out who did it and why they did it. This does lead him to meet a whole cast of really interesting people, and I really enjoyed reading about the side characters just as much as I enjoyed the main character, which is actually really cool. I love when an author is able to make me want to engage with the side characters just as much, so that was amazing to do. I rated this 4 stars, I think, if I remember correctly. Really enjoyed it, highly recommend. The second one is going to be called The Black Fire Blade, according to the back of this book. I'm not too sure when that comes out, but I'm going to be collecting the paperback versions instead of the hardback versions. Broken Binding, I think, did a really pretty edition, but paperbacks, man, my shelves are full of hardbacks, and I really want to reread this before the second book comes out, and I just feel like a paperback for that is going to be perfect. It's perfectly floppy, so I'm looking forward to giving this a reread as well. When this was announced, I knew that it was going to sell fast, but I didn't expect the signed editions to go so fast, and that's Spectacular by Stephanie Garber. I have read the whole of the Caraval series. I think the first one is definitely my favourite. The second 2 just kind of play along the lines of the same story, and I'm not 100% sure if I enjoyed following the other characters as much as I did just in the first book, but this is set in the Caraval world, and because it's about Christmas, or it's set in the holiday season, I thought now would be the perfect time to read it as well. So I pre-ordered it. It's very pretty. I'm very glad I got it. I just now need to read it, and like I said, now is the perfect time, but I am yet to pick it up. So maybe in the next couple of weeks I'll read this before the end of 2024. There's actually a couple in this stack that I've already read, and another one that I have already read is this one, which is New York Minute by Stephen Orion. This is his very first adventure into the indie publishing world, which is phenomenal, and I really enjoyed this. If you're looking for a short book that you want to read before the end of 2024, maybe to hit your reading goals, this is definitely it. It's so fast paced, it had me constantly turning pages, I really enjoyed our characters, something that you should definitely add to your list. So we are following our main character Cole Blackstone, and he is a retired cop. He is now a private investigator, and this story is described as a noir, and it is set in an alternate New York City. When a notorious crime boss approaches Blackman to find his missing daughter, Blackman endeavours to find out what the answer to this mystery actually is to try and stop a gang war breaking out within the city. This was for a lot of twists and turns, and I will say the way that it ended was not how I thought it was going to end. I really enjoyed that Stephen kept us on our toes, kept us guessing, and I hope that you too will pick it up and enjoy it as much as I did. I've also read January's by Olivia Blake. I got this because I started to auto-buy all her books, and I think I'm learning that not every single one of her books is necessarily for me, and that's okay. This one was a solid 3 stars. It was okay. It's kind of hard for me to do high-ranking anthologies. This is a whole collection of short stories because every story obviously is different within its own rights. There were some stories in here that I absolutely loved. There were some that I felt meh about, and there were some that I just really didn't like. And that's pretty normal, I think. I will say there is a lot, in my opinion, a lot of just stories about really toxic love, and if you want to read that, check this out, you might really love it. But there are also some really nice moments in this as well, which is great. I am still looking forward to completing the Atlas 6 trilogy, but I think once I've done that, and I've read Masters of Death, I think, which is still on my shelf, I'll do a little bit more research into what exactly I'm purchasing from an Olivia Blake point of view, because I do not need them all in special edition pretty hardbacks. I like some of her writing, I love some of her writing, but she's definitely more of a 50-50 author for me than an auto-buy. This next one I got pulled in by reading the description, and that's All the Devils by Caitlin Wilson. I have not seen anybody really talking about this, I don't think, and I don't know why. Like, the description sounds incredible, but it's not an overly hyped book. I found it on Waterstones, their special edition. This is following our main character called Andy, and her sister Violet passes away, and when they go to the funeral, Andy realises that the girl in the casket is not actually her sister, so her sister must be alive, but she thinks that maybe the elite boarding school that her sister went to is covering something up. After Andy discovers a secret note from her sister at the school, she then proceeds on this whole mystery trying to figure out what has happened to her sister. She meets secret societies, and that was enough for me. I think it also says some other things: secret societies, ancient magic, demons and monsters, and a charming senior named Jay Han who has his own reasons for finding out what happened to Violet Emerson. So there's going to be probably a little bit of romance in there, but otherwise the Dark Academia vibes, I was like, oh, I really want to read this, and I really wanted to read it in October. Didn't happen. I don't want to put this off though, I still want to read it, definitely maybe before October, just to get it read from my shelves, but you know, I also feel like it might be one of those books that just sits on my shelves until next October, and I hope I'm not right about that, but sometimes that does happen. And then another book that I meant to read in October and just didn't get around to was Graveyard Shift by ML Rio. I know that they're coming out with a whole other book next year. I don't think I've pre-ordered it, but I wanted to read this and finish the other book that they've written, If We Were Villains. I have Softy and Eft If We Were Villains for the moment, and I still haven't picked this up, so we're gonna see when we read these. Maybe I'll read this before the end of 24, because again, it's a nice short one. I could probably get through it in a day. I'd like to think so. I'm really not the fastest reader, so if you want someone who reads super fast and like 200 books a year, do not stick around. But if you like normal people reading, hello, hi, welcome to my channel, because that is definitely me. But I would love to try this, definitely. Again, I'm trying really hard not to just keep saving books until the specific season, even though I love the idea of cozying up in October and November with a Dark Academia or a mystery book. It really doesn't happen, and I want to be much more of a mood reader and just read the books that I've got. So hopefully this one will get read either before 2025 or early in 2025. I've then got The Fury of the Gods by John Gwynne, the third and final book in the Blood Sworn trilogy. I've read none of these books, couldn't tell you a thing. But I've got them all in hardback, and I bought them all from the Broken Binding, so they're all signed, I believe. So that's why I had to get this to complete the set. Hopefully next year. I've put Malice on my list of priority books. If you haven't seen that video, I'll link it up here for you. For 2025, I picked 12 books that I want to read in 2025. So I'm hoping that they get read. And if I read the first book, then maybe I'll just read the whole series. That would be amazing. And then I can move on to this and read it in the publication order. That would be great. Another one that I have read, The Blood Dim Tide by Stephen Orion, the second Stephen Orion book in this haul. This is the middle book to the Nightingale and the Falcon trilogy, which concludes next year. I'm so excited for book 3. So excited. These are the Broken Binding editions. I have got the first book in this series as well, in this same kind of style. I'm so looking forward to getting the third one and matching it, and I also have them in paperback form on my shelves, which is, love it. So excited. Read this series. It is historical fantasy, so it is based in truth but with tweaks to include fantastical elements, and the timeline has slightly shifted in order to accommodate for the story that Stephen wanted to tell. So definitely check this out. I'm not really a historical fantasy kind of person or a historical book kind of person, but I really enjoyed this series. I really enjoy the character work that we've got with these characters that are within this book, and I love seeing their arcs and where they go, and I love reading the multiple perspectives because they're a multi-POV in this book, and it's the best way to read. So definitely check this one out. Final 2 books before we get into the 66 books haul. Book 1, The Dragons of Deepwood Fen by Bradley P. Bewley, I want to say. I was influenced by Jade from Jadey Ray Reads buying this. She bought a really pretty Waterstones edition. No, she was going to buy a really pretty Waterstones edition, but ended up getting the Broken Binding, I think. I went to get the Broken Binding. It was sold out. Guess what came back in stock for Black Friday? The special edition of this book. However, I have got the paperback. This one isn't as floppy as the other one that I've just shown you, the Silver Blood Promise. However, I was like, when am I realistically going to read this book? When is that? Because if it's going to be within the next couple of weeks when I bought this book, then I will get the hardback and I will pre-order it and da-da-da. I haven't picked it up once, and I think the second book doesn't even... It does say in the back. Comes out next week. No, it doesn't. Comes out in 2026. So I have a whole year to read this now, although I will be waiting longer to obviously read the second book if I'm going to be picking it up in paperback. So I thought I'll buy it in paperback, add it to my shelves because I wanted it. Gonna try and cut down on that next year. That's a thing. You know, trying to cut down on the books that I'm buying ahead of time. If I'm gonna buy it in paperback, why not just wait until I'm ready to read it? But that is another conversation for future Chels. And then the other book is, of course, Blood Over Brighthaven by M.L. Wang, which got picked up traditionally by Del Rey. I got the special edition red one. Is this one signed? I can never remember. I don't think it is. I think it's just... No, it is signed. And it's signed as well. This is a standalone Dark Academia book. I've seen so many people raving about it as well. Everywhere that people read books and talk about books, and I love the people that are actually on the back, one of them being Andy Peliquin, who is an indie author himself, and then you've also got Terry Brooks, who wrote like a lot of OG fantasy, which is so cool. But I really don't know a lot about this, and I don't want to. I have got a really pretty edition coming of The Sword of Kaigan to add to my shelves, so yeah, needed a pretty edition of this as well. Next, I'm going to show you all the books I got at 66 Books. Now, if you don't know what 66 Books is, I don't know how, but it is a book warehouse based down south, and loads of people go to it, and there's loads of TikToks made about it. I went years ago, well before COVID, well before it became popular, and I loved it, and I've always told my friend I need to take you. However, since TikTok, or since it got made TikTok famous, it has been crazy and the queues are ridiculous. So luckily we went on a really nice day in September. We waited outside for like 2 hours, I think, and we managed to get in, and I got a whole collection of books. I also got some Christmas presents or birthday presents. I can't remember what I gave them to people for, but I think it might have been birthdays. And these are the books that I got for myself. First up, Blade of Dream by Daniel Abram. I've got the first book in this series. This is book 2. I haven't read it, but I found it discounted at 66 books. The other thing I didn't mention, books are like 70% off marked price, so it's quite cheap for what you're buying. And when I found this one, I was like, well, I've got the first one, and literally this is the only one I found. I couldn't find the stack for the rest of them. I was like, well, I have got the first one. What if I like it? At least now I have the hardback of the second one. And if I don't, it really didn't cost me a lot to get the second one. Just saying. Next up, I picked up Metro 2033 and Metro 2034. I've been looking at these for a while now. I don't know an awful lot about it. I'm pretty sure the world has ended. And yeah, the world has been reduced to rubble. Humanity is nearly extinct. A few thousand live on, not knowing if they are the only survivors on the planet. They live in the Moscow Metro, the biggest air raid shelter ever built. It is humanity's last refuge. It is a world without tomorrow, with no rooms for dreams, plans, hopes. Feelings have given way to instinct, the most important of which is survival at any price. This is also a smash hit around Europe, and it is translated from what? I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, I've seen these around a lot. I haven't heard a lot of people talking about them, but I've seen them around a lot. So I thought, well, now might be the time to try and read them. And in that same vein, I also got Ready Player 1 and Ready Player 2. I have watched the film now, so I know what this is about roughly. The world basically is a very strange space, and humanity goes into... oh gosh, they're very slippy buggers. There you go. The year is 2044, so set not too far off of the other books. And the real world has become an ugly place. We're out of oil, we wreck the climate, famine, poverty and disease are widespread. Like most of humanity, Wade Watts escapes this depressing reality by spending his waking hours jacked into the Oasis, a sprawling virtual utopia where you can be anything you want to be, where you can live and play and fall in love on any of 10,000 planets. And like most of humanity, Wade is obsessed by the ultimate lottery ticket that lies concealed within this alternative reality. Oasis founder James Halliday, who dies with no heir, has promised that control of the Oasis and his massive fortune will go to the person who can solve the riddles he has left scattered throughout his creation. For years, millions have struggled fruitlessly to attain this prize, knowing only that the riddles are based on Halliday's obsession with 80s pop culture. And then Wade stumbles into the key to the first puzzle. Suddenly he finds himself pitted against thousands of competitors in a desperate race to claim the ultimate prize, a chase that soon takes on terrifying real-world dimensions and that will leave both Wade and his world profoundly changed. And I think that there was talk about how it was quite different in the movie to the book. Usually happens. So I'm looking forward to giving that a try. And then the sequel as well, which I haven't heard great things about, but I thought, well, if I'm getting one, I might as well try both. The one that I knew absolutely nothing about is this one. This is Bloodsong by Anthony Ryan. I found this on a shelf. I recognised the author's name and I was like, oh, I want to try this. I really don't know an awful lot about it. I literally just tried the blurb and I was like, that sounds cool. The Order fights, but often it fights in shadow. Without glory or reward, we have no banners. This is a debut of a major new talent in epic fantasy, and I'm pretty sure Anthony Ryan has written loads more since this. I didn't know if this is his very first book or what. Please let me know. I think it is the very first one, but yeah, I'm excited to try it. I really don't know anything about it, but I saw it and I was like, that sounds cool. Let's try that. And the other thing, also, fantasy book critic, if you don't know, he's great. Mio is quoted on the back. So I was like, I know him. I need to get the book. But yeah, really excited to give that one a go. Another one that's been on my list for a while. This is How You Lose the Time War by Max Gladstone. Two agents are trying to like fight against it. Two rival agents, let's read the blurb, it makes more sense, hell-bent on securing the best possible future for their warring factions, strike up an unlikely correspondence. But what started as a taunt, a battlefield boast, grows into something more, something epic and romantic, something that could change the past and the future. The discovery of their bond will mean their deaths. There's still a war going on and someone has to win that war. That's how wars work, right? So this is co-written by two authors and it's a love story. So we'll see how that goes. The Last Unicorn by Peter S. Beagle is one that I have seen a lot about. I think there's like a whole series of these. Do not quote me on that. But I have seen this around a lot. I know it's probably, well, even on the back it says it's a beloved classic voted by Time as one of the 100 greatest fantasy novels of all time. So I'm going to try it and see if I like it. I also got Time's Convert, which is the 4th book in the Discovery of Witches trilogy that is no longer a trilogy. I found this in paperback and I was thinking about rereading. As of now, I have reread the very first book and I plan to continue the series, so I thought, well, I might as well pick up the next one. I'm not going to read the blurb to you because it might ruin some of the other stuff, but it's following different characters, I believe, from definitely the first book. So we'll give that a try. I also got An Absolutely Remarkable Thing by Hank Green. I have seen this around. I don't know if it's still going to be my thing, but I've always had my eye on this book and I'm like, I want to try it. I want to try and read it. I want to see if I like it. This is when these random sculptures just like appear in the middle of places, and our main character April May stumbles across it at 3 AM in New York City, and when she goes to sleep and she wakes up the next day, she wakes up to being a viral sensation because cards have appeared in dozens of cities all around the world. With April's video going viral, she decides that she's going to become the spokesperson for these cards. That's what she's nicknamed them. And then she also goes through a journey of whether being famous is actually worth it. And she sets out on a quest to try and figure out what they are and what they want from the humans. Sounds interesting. That sounded really sarcastic. It actually does. Like, I do want to try it. Then the final book I got from 66 Books is Mexican Gothic. Again, another one I've seen around so many times. I wanted to read this in October, never got round to it. This has been spoken about again and again and again. I've seen this everywhere, so I was like, well, I need to try it as well. I don't really know an awful lot about it, but it is when Naomi, who is our main character, receives a letter from her newlywed cousin begging to be rescued from a mysterious doom. Naomi then goes to meet her cousin to make sure that she is okay, and when she gets to the house, a load of weird things start happening. That is loosely what I know about this book, and I'm excited to give it a go, see if it's my thing. I believe that this author, Silvia Marino Garcia, has got something new coming out next year. I'm sure I've seen that somewhere, I could be wrong, but if her writing's for me, then I want to find out. So those are all the books that I've bought myself. The final pile is books that I have very kindly been sent. The very first one being one that releases at the start of next year, and that is God Ascended by Jeffrey Spate, the third and final book in the archives of William Tale, following Umra, which was our main character for this series. He has got more planned, that makes sense, for this world, just not following Umra, which I'm happy and sad about, if I'm honest, but I can't wait to get to this and read it and finish off the trilogy. I've really enjoyed it so far. This is definitely more D&D inspired, but even as someone who is not D&D literate, it makes sense and I really enjoyed it. And the character work is great. I've very kindly been sent a copy of Black Light Born by Alexander Darwin from Orbit. Thank you so much, Orbit, for sending me a copy of this book. It completes the trilogy for me. I am partway through Griever's Blood. I am a little bit behind, which doesn't shock anybody. I can't tell you anything about the third book because it'll probably spoil the second book for me and for you. But this is definitely a really interesting fantasy where our main characters fight using a martial art style, and I just really enjoy the premise of this. I wouldn't say it's overly magical in its fantasy, but the fantasy dwells more within the different rings that these fighters have to fight within and the actual kind of world that they live in, which is really interesting. Definitely recommend. Another indie that I've been very kindly sent is Dark Rising by John Nassari. This, I want to say, is already out. The author very kindly sent me a copy of this, so thank you very much to John for sending me this. Yeah, November 2024 it released, so you can pick up a copy of this as well if you want. This I know not a lot about, only from the blurb because I haven't read it yet. and this is following Gervin, who is our main character. He can enter people's dreams, identifying himself as a dream traveller. However, his uncle Laglen fears that Gervin is unprepared for a grave role in which it is that he controls a mysterious and deadly gateway. Gervin must master his emerging abilities to navigate a destiny that binds him to an epic struggle between dreams and reality. It sounds really interesting. I'm really intrigued to jump into this, and again, I love supporting indies on this channel, so hopefully 2025 early I'll be getting to this one. The lovely Angry Robot sent me a copy of Ludluda, which is the second book in the Gog Magog series. So Gog Magog is first book, this is the second, and it was a duology written by Jeff Noon and Steve Beard. I am almost finished with Gog Magog now, so I'm really looking forward to moving on and experiencing what happens in the next book. These characters are really cool. I really like the way these authors write fantasy. It's really different for me, and it's not necessarily something that I've read from in a while, so we're looking forward to carrying on this series. Angry Robot also very kindly sent me a copy of Odd Spirits by S.T. Gibson, which is a novella following Reese and Moira from Evocation about the start of their marriage, I believe. So I'm really excited to do this. Again, this was another one that I was like, I'm going to read it in October because it feels very Octobery to me. It didn't. So I need to get on it and read. This is such a lovely little cute edition. I love it so much. This has already come out, so I need to get a review up for this once I get to it. And I also just love how shiny this is. Another amazing author reached out to me to offer me a review copy of their work, and that was Ed Crocker. He is such a lovely person, and his newest book is called Lightfall. This comes out in January 2025. This is following a world where everyone is vampires. There are no humans at all. It is all magical creatures, so vampires and werewolves and sorcerers. And even on the back it says that this stunning debut epic fantasy is for fans of Jay Kristoff's Empire of the Vampire and Richard Swann's The Justice of Kings, both of which I really enjoyed. I have started this. I am planning on finishing it as soon as I can, and then I will get a review up for you guys. 3 more books left in this haul. So first up is The Thief of Legacy by Andrew Simpson. This was also sent to me by an indie author. This is following our main character Kai Tarios, and this is an epic fantasy debut full of courage, ambition and loyalty. This is the first from the Chronicles of the Wardens, so I'm looking forward to picking that one up. I was also very kindly sent a copy of The Light of Kazaban by Thomas Howard Riley. This released on my birthday on the 17th of September, so definitely check this one out. This one is set in the brutal desert city of Kazaban. The old gods have had their statues crushed to powder by invading priests, and their one true god with magic forbidden to anyone but themselves. Merely being born as one of the magi makes even infants into fugitives, and the priests and their spies are always watching, ready to toss their enemies into the purifying flames of execution. Saya Annie Anai is the last of her family, dedicating her life to being a teacher of magic for little orphan children. From within her hidden home, she provides the closest thing to a normal life these children may ever know. They help each other like family, working for what they can and stealing the rest to scrape by, forced to live every day under the yoke of oppression. When the Warren boss, who keeps their dominion a secret, suddenly demands a higher price to keep his silence, they must race to find a way to meet the demand, or they will lose their home and their lives. But for the poor living in Kazaban, simply surviving is anything but easy. With priests and their magic hunters scouring the city for magi to burn, and the catastrophes of daily life intervening to crush her plans at every turn, Saya must risk everything to save her home and keep the children safe. But Kazaban is unforgiving, its fires rage bright, and if she fails, all her hopes will burn. And then the final book for this haul is none other than Fogbound by NJ Alexander. I was sent this to review in a book tour. Unfortunately, it got lost in the post, but I am excited to get to this. This is following a main character, Xerxian Volner, who is a history teacher, and one day Xerxian actually finds out that a long-dead legendary war hero can control his mind. This then leads Xerxian to end up joining the army, in which his skills become renowned. But when he faces an ancient magic that he thought was destroyed long ago, he and a small band of soldiers are tasked with a one last mission for reinforcements. However, Xerxes fears that in order to accomplish this goal, that lies within embracing his new alter ego, and he doesn't know if he's got any of his identity left to give. This one sounds really interesting, and I just love the cover as well. Like, it's just really cool, as are a lot of indie covers at the minute. And with that, that is everything for my final haul for 2024. If you did enjoy this video, please give it a like, really supports me on my channel. Leave me a comment down below of a book that you have recently hauled. I'd love to know, and let me know whether you think I should buy it as well or add it to my never-ending TBR. If you want to leave me an emoji, leave me anything festive just to celebrate the fact that it is Christmas Eve. I hope you're all having an amazing day celebrating, or if you're watching this after it's gone live, I hope you're enjoying the quiet period between Christmas and New Year, whether you celebrate Christmas or not. If you want to see more of me, please consider subscribing down below and ringing that notification bell to get notified every single time I upload new videos. I am now done with Countdown to Christmas, so I'm looking forward to 2025 content, which will be going live in 2025, and I'm not 100% sure as I'm filming this as and when I will be posting between Christmas and New Year. I'm sure there'll be something, there might be a vlog, but it also depends what I film because I want to take a break. So that is the plan, but I hope you have enjoyed Countdown to Christmas this year. I hope you have enjoyed my Vlogmas as well. All of my Vlogmases have been shorts. They've been uploaded to this channel, which you can go back and watch. They've also gone onto Instagram. Thank you so much for all of your support this year and following me and interacting with my content. It means so much. Thank you so much if you're anyone who's ever sent me anything. You never have to, but I really appreciate you, and I just really appreciate everything that you guys do for me and the support that you give. So thank you so much. I hope you're having a wonderful festive period. Even if you don't celebrate, I hope it's relaxing for you guys. I look forward to seeing you in 2025, if not before. But otherwise, that is everything for today's video. I hope you're having an amazing day, and I will see you soon in the next one. Bye.
The Christmas tree's on fire, Santa's holding the lighter, my parents are both liars, I got gifts but 1 subscribers, thanks for the candy basket, oh got another jacket, my stocking's filled with acid, am I dreaming, what just happened?